Oh, hey there. So, I played this interesting game that you can see right here. I know it's going to be mean to say it, but this is the Dark Souls of Soulslike games. It came before the Souls series, yet it has a similar style of gameplay and combat. I just gotta say, I absolutely fell in love with this, and I have to make a review of it. But first, I like to see what other people thought of this, and then build my opinion based off of that. So, time to look it up on YouTube. This one seems interesting. An 8-minute review of it. Should be short and sweet. Well, time to get right to it and see what it is.
Who's that pointing and clicking his way to internet fame? You might be a little too cool for your mainstream kind of games. But if you like retro consoles and obscure PC stuff, then you might just be hip enough for this pretentious hipster.
In 2009, a type of action RPG became popular.
Yeah, this guy has a cool voice, and the editing of the footage is pretty well done, showing the actions based upon what he's saying. But I still gotta see the rest of it.
The combat is incredibly challenging and intense. The amount of tension made is insurmountable.
Yeah, he had a decent idea of how the combat is too. Cool way of saying it, and showing the mutilation system.
I did encounter quite a few glitches.
Ah yes, the glitches. There were quite a few of those. Wait, what is this? He's literally just listing out everything that he comes across. This is the weirdest checklist I've seen. Come on, man, you gotta do a better review than this. I just realized too, this guy doesn't even try to fix the incompatibility issues with this game. You see, the problem with this is that it's basically abandonware. And well, there's gonna be incompatibility issues since it came out like year 2000, I think. And you gotta do some stuff to make it more playable. And this guy clearly didn't even go through that.
Sometimes weapons just seem completely useless. For example, I used a warhammer against one of the bosses, and the hits just won't connect most of the time. The boss was already difficult.
And what is this at the end? Huh, the music he chose. It's literally just sound effects of an industrial flare. Weird that he would choose this as background music. He doesn't even take the time to find the right music for this. I wonder who made this. Wait, pretentious hipster? But that's me. Oh god, I remember now. This was one of my first videos. Oh, such a bad reviewer back then. Can't stand it. How could I do such a thing? It's clear I need to fix this. First I need to go through how you can play this game. And well, might as well go all the way like I said before, and to make a Redux review of this. Severance Blade of Darkness has some of the most interesting cult following I've seen. It has quite a good Metacritic score, but partially ruined by Edge's 2 out of 10 score. Apparently the marketing of this really sucked and never got popular. This was developed by Rebel Act Studios, but they only made this and were shortly bankrupt afterwards. So basically, Codemasters lost the distribution rights for this, and they didn't really know who has them. So Good Old Games had no choice but to remove this game from their catalog. It's basically abandonware now. You have to get it illegally or on eBay like I did. And well, let's hope it'll go back to Good Old Games eventually. The fans are desperate for this to be back on Good Old Games, and there are countless threads and videos on how to get this working on Windows 10. But before we can get to that, what about the plot of this? Maybe this time I'll actually, take the time to go through the manual, like I did that last time. But maybe we can get it from one of the game's characters?
Thank you, my friend. Although you come too late, but there is still hope, and only the sacred markings on the stones reveal the way. Come with me. Let us leave this dungeon, and while we walk, I shall explain to you how to recognize the signs. No!
Oh, obviously that would happen. Guess I gotta figure it out for myself. The moon shall be tinged with blood, the sun obscured. The earth shall be covered by waters, and the brilliant stars shall fall from their sanctuaries in the heavens. Fire and smoke shall rise up until they reach the very skies. Damn. Talk about intense. The Lord created chaos and contains the two opposites, light and darkness. Thus, the Spirit of Light and the Prince of Darkness were given life. The Prince learned his father's secret language of creation and tried to create life itself. The newborn was rebellious and created monsters and demons. The Spirit and the Lord tried to stop it, causing a great war. Afterwards, they created the sun, moon, and earth. The Prince then started a war with creatures with his own creation. There is a god named Iana, one of the younger daughters, and obviously had to choose a young hero to wield a secret sword and fight evil. Sounds familiar? Yeah, it sounds like every RPG ever. It is your standard one, but it does its job. And with a game like this, who frankly cares about the plot? And well, it's time to do that. Time to show you how to get this game working. Of course, I gotta give credit where credit is due. If you go into this video that I'll put in the description, it turns out that the video doesn't really help, but there's a YouTube comment that gave the simplest and best instructions. So, thank you so much for doing this. I zapfen der Wudeden Winde. So basically, go to the website Zeus Software. What you need to download is the N-Glide wrapper. You then install it, open it, and do the base settings in its launcher. Then, launch Blade of Darkness, select R3DFX Voodoo 1.2, 800 by 600 by 60 Hz resolution, and direct 3D software emulation. And well, that's it. Time to start the game. It's not starting. Fortunately, this was covered in the comment mentioned before. You unfortunately gotta delete the intro, or at least rename it. The good news is that you can simply watch the intro on VLC, and it's definitely a cool one. Hey, there you go, now it's starting. I haven't played this in over a year, so I guess the best way is to start the tutorial. Never mind. Seems like that doesn't work either. I'll skip to the first level then. Now, the unfortunate thing is that this still isn't a perfect system. The graphics of this one is the best one, the lighting rules, and it has a good mouse control. The problem is the crashes, but it's at a very specific point. It's when the level ends. The solution to this is to find out when a level is about to end on YouTube, save, quit, change to OpenGL, complete the level, start the new one, save, change to R3DFX Voodoo 1.2, and load the game. OpenGL does work, but overall it's somehow less stable, even if it is more at the same time, if that makes sense. There's this slight flickering light that just looks wrong, the brightness is off, and the mouse control, well, this is how it is. Yeah, terrible, huh? Not to mention that there are brightness issues. Look at this ending cutscene. The entire level would have been like that. How would you be able to see? Keep in mind, with Voodoo 1.2 the game itself was brighter than in the recording, and with OpenGL it's the opposite. So yeah, under Voodoo, this game gets super dark.
It's actually fine the entire time when I was playing it, but the footage itself was too dark in times. In fact, some of the footage you see here has me playing around with the settings when I go into the dark areas. Want to see how dark it is on its own? Here's an example. Still, this is more than playable, and frankly, the old me was ridiculous for calling out those flaws of this. Now that we have this figured out, it's time to talk about the game itself. Oh man, is it awesome. It all comes down to the sword combat, and I gotta go the most in-depth with that. Honestly, it's some of the most in-depth and intense combat I've seen in a game, like, ever. The danger of it, the chaos of it, the speed of it, is all emphasized here. But showing the depth of the combat first is the most impressive. You start off with 4 basic moves, each having a dedicated WASD button with the left click of the mouse. There's the vertical slash, horizontal slash, a cool spinning move, and a lower horizontal slash at the legs. You have the basic combo moves for every weapon, unlocking them as you increase your level, which of course will also increase the obvious stuff like stamina and health. You also have a combo move for each weapon that again you unlock as you increase your levels. Now, I find that you can basically do 2 strategies when it comes to the combat. Each of them are more or less risky, and of course the more riskier one has the great payoff to it, if you can get it done right. You can either play it safe, using maybe some of the more basic combos, dodging to back out of the enemy's attacks, or go the right distance beforehand and use a combo, hoping you will plant it at the right time without getting hit in the process. The combos do a hell of a lot more damage, but it can open yourself up and you will get hit and lose tons of health. This means that you gotta change a weapon on the go when you unlock ones with better combos. You don't really need to be dedicated to a weapon, and it always keeps things fresh. This is where one of the flaws comes in though. You can only hold 4 weapons at a time. Well, even worse than that. 3 because when you pick up a bow and arrow, you have to use it to hit switches, and it's not something you can drop. Of course, some weapons can be used to cheese stuff, like the elf sword having a combo that covers a lot of space. So you do want to keep weapons like that throughout the entire game. Therefore, the fact that you only have 3 weapons to choose from is just way too stressful. Honestly, I just had to use a mod where you can have up to 16 weapons. 4, well really 3, it's frankly just absurd. Anyways, with the other aspects of the combat, it shows just how intense it can get. The enemies just have their basic attack. These bigger orcs, for example, have a charging and spinning attack. The skeletons have this triple attack, and so on. But they can hold their own. Even when you memorize their moves, the most basic enemy can be a challenge if you easily screw up. All the dodging you have to do, and trying not to open yourself up is heart-racing. All the dodging both of you will have to do, you will barely see what's going on, and doing a good job in doing that takes tons of practice. The shield is an underrated aspect of the combat too. Doing a strong attack and you hit a shield, you better hope that you break their shield and they get blown back. Because if they successfully block you, you will be blown back instead. Have that oh no moment during a short stun, and then they can use a combo on you and easily kill you. It makes you have to be careful because of the danger of that. There's even the effectiveness depending on what weapon you use against which enemy. Like, you know how many RPGs like Elder Scrolls, it doesn't really matter if you're attacking like a creature made of, well, meat, or ones that lack it, like a skeleton for example? It never made sense to me. Here the sword is not as effective. Instead you gotta smash them with the mace. That's how it should be done in games. We all know that the most effective method is to crush bones. It's also a case with dealing with stone golems. I like how it has that accuracy, and I'm sad that it's more rare in games. If you think this is intense already, boy oh boy, we're just getting started. There's a mutilation system with this. Hit the enemy at the right place, they can lose their limbs. Of course, you can do the cool decapitation when you kill them, but this mutilation can also happen in the middle of a battle. If you chop off an enemy's hand or arm in the middle of a battle, well, they can't use their shield or sword anymore.
and they're screwed. To make it more intense, it can happen to you. Fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, most of it happens when you or the enemy dies. They basically use this simple psychological trick that makes the combat seem so much more intense and damaging, but it really just comes down to numbers. Look at how much health you and the enemies have. There are points where it will reach the triple or quadruple digits. It's funny because if you think about it, it's just a scale, and they could have easily made the max health like 100 or so, but seeing bigger numbers decreasing when you do a cool combo just feels so good. It's strange how a psychological trick like that kind of works. The flaw with this are the potions. Seeing a 150 or 50 health potion is pretty much a waste of time when you have like 4,000 health. And the food? Wow, 10 health. Not even worth picking up. But then again, seeing your character eat them in one bite is always a fun sight. The other flaw with this is the little amount of potions you can hold. There's up to 4 for 500 health, 2 for 1000, 1 for full life, and 1 power potion. If you're a potion hoarder like me, this is pretty much a nightmare. But it is cool to see the potion being thrown to the ground after you drink it. You can tell with that and eating that your character just doesn't care about anything except killing. I mean, you just break the treasure chest with your weapon to see what's inside. Not even Link goes to that level. And for some reason, seeing the animation of the boxes breaking is one of the funniest parts. Look at how long it takes for something to spin around, and how chaotic it does so as well, before stopping. Sometimes it even stops in a place that physically makes no sense. It doesn't stop there. There is a difficulty progression, and the level design. They basically slowly introduce the enemies to you. The game still doesn't become a joke, but with the way they do it, you can learn the enemies' patterns and the best way to defeat them. They can quickly introduce 2 of them at once at the same time, or ones with more health and or better weapons. Oddly enough, it never feels repetitive even when there isn't that much variety, simply because of all the combinations the enemies use. They have that perfect balance of keeping you on your toes, but not overwhelming you. It has a great way to kind of throw you in the deep end too. There are moments when you're like, how the hell am I gonna do this? Turns out, you can. Don't be too scared. You know what to do, and with some thinking, reflexes, and perseverance, you can achieve that. I had this, geez, I'm an idiot moment with one of these weapons and a difficulty progression. You got these sort of elemental weapons lying around. I remember getting this one that looked awesome, but I didn't see any combos for it. It was so confusing. I still kept it though. There was one level with a bunch of orcs, and I just couldn't beat it. And I kept thinking, why is this difficulty so high even with basic enemies? Turns out, there's another section on the left of the default menu position, showing combos for these special weapons. Yeah, the Queen's Sword actually takes the enemy's life and heals you. That weapon needs to be nerfed though, because it made the future levels way too easy. Fortunately, it doesn't work on the undead, except vampiric enemies, and doesn't work on skeletons either. So they provide some more of a sense of challenge to levels with a different theme. The level design, I guess it kind of feels like a boomer shooter to me. You've got plenty of keys and switches, most of the latter giving you a way back to previous parts of the level to decrease backtracking. All of it just rules. It does that sort of shooter trope that many are known for, where you gotta go into separate areas, pick up some stones or a key, and go back to a main hub to place them. But I honestly kinda like that level design. I just didn't like how one level felt like finding the secrets in the original Doom, attacking every wall, hoping that you will break through one of them to continue the level. To add on top of that, you can find 6 runes scattered around in some levels. The first one makes it obvious, but the rest are hidden around, encouraging you to explore throughout the levels to look for those switches. The bosses, man oh man, they can be terrifying. They go for this more body horror aspect with bosses, and they legit freak me out. I mean, what is this thing? Skulls in the back, teleporting, breathing fire, what the hell is going on? And like, look at how it screams. The problem is that although I didn't notice lack of variety with the enemies,
That feeling is apparent with the bosses. Seeing the same one for the third time just gets so annoying. You will be disappointed in that sense.
The music of this is definitely a highlight. I couldn't really use any of the music for the game for this video, even if I did for the previous one, because I noticed when looking up the soundtrack that some songs end up becoming copyright, even though it didn't really make sense. I mean, look at this. A song by Rotting Christ. They have nothing to do with this game. I guess it must have just been a sample of a royalty-free song or something. The highlight of the music is not necessarily the music itself, but the way the music flows. There's never a hard cut in this, even though you can hear some choirs when you enter the church, some of the combat music, some of the atmospheric music, and I especially love all the creepy whispering when you go down in the crypts. It all sounds like one song that progresses into different movements.
Some stuff can be broken, specifically the AI, but honestly, they are more funny than anything. I enjoy the glitch where I was invincible too, because why the hell not? And I gotta love this enemy AI the most. Oh, hey there Gundog Frostcutter, what are you up to today? Ah, guarding the wall? Running into it to make sure it's still stable, huh? Sure. Keep doing that, Gundog. Not to mention the jumping. Good luck with that part. There are points of jumping, or this point with lava, where it comes across as more slapstick rather than anything. I left one of the biggest surprises in the end. You actually have multiple characters to choose from, each of them with their own introductory level. However, I found the Knight to be easily the best because of the balance with agility, reach, and damage. He uses the sword and shield combo, and of course him trying to use two-handed weapons is a disaster since that's not in his strength of weapons. Still, I found that some users online like the Amazon character as well for her dodging skills. I'd say to honestly try them all out for like 5 to 10 minutes to see which one you prefer, and then choose your character based off of that.
There will be slight spoilers here. I'm not really going to give away the last level or the ending, but still if you want to play it safe, just finish this video, it's pretty much done.
When you pick up the fancy sword that can dispel evil, the ending actually depends on whether or not you find these runes. You need all 6 of them to reach the final level and defeat the final boss. Fortunately, they do make it so that you're not completely screwed. After picking up the sword, they show you which levels have the remaining runes, and you can repeat them to seek them out. I like how they don't make it so that you're completely screwed.
So well, I gave this a 6 out of 10 back then, which is just a ridiculous score. But to be frank, I find the concepts of scoring games to just suck because people just focus on that instead of what I'm actually saying about the game. I was absolutely wrong with this. Definitely play this any chance you can get. Download it legally, get it on eBay, beg Good Old Games to bring it back. I don't care. Get on top of this.